There's a few different ways that companies will typically migrate to the cloud. AWS describes these through the 6 R's, or the migration strategies. Let's go ahead and check those out. Make sure to watch the video from the AWS educators. And now let's define what these migration strategies actually mean. So they refer to the approaches organizations use to move apps, workloads, and data from their on-premises infrastructure to the cloud. Typically, when we're talking about migration, like I said, we're talking about on-premises. So these strategies help businesses decide how to move their apps, data, and workloads to AWS efficiently. When migrating applications to the cloud, 6 of the most common migration strategies that you can implement are rehosting, replatforming, refactoring, also known as re-architecting, repurchasing, retaining, and retiring. So we'll go through each of these in detail. So rehosting involves moving applications with little or minimal changes. So you're essentially just moving the app as it is onto AWS. You're just swapping one infrastructure on premises for another, the cloud. So it's also known as lift and shift. So this is typically in the scenario of like large legacy migrations. So you have an app that's um, that the app is needs to be innovated, right? It needs to be moved onto more robust infrastructure. So the cloud is definitely the way to go. So when you want to implement the migration and scale quickly, then you're going to go with rehosting. That's going to be the case for most applications that fall into this legacy migration scenario, where your infrastructure is outdated and you need to move into the modern age. So replatforming. So replatforming is a little bit different. You're going to make minor infrastructure changes, and this is typical for small optimization. So you need to make some improvements. So yeah, replatforming involves making a few cloud optimizations to improve your systems. This is known as lift, and then the added tinker, which means you're making some updates, and shift. So it's achieved without changing the core infrastructure of the application, just making small improvements. But those small improvements can make a huge impact. So next up is refactoring, also known as re-architecting. So this is when you need to make major changes. You're redesigning the app to use cloud native services. So this involves reimagining how the app is architected and developed by using the cloud native features. Like I said, it's known as re-architecting. It's driven by a strong business need to add features, scale, or performance that would otherwise be difficult to achieve in the current environment. On premises, right? It is limited, right? There's the capacity is limited to the hardware that you have, but when you move to the cloud, you're essentially accessing this giant network of hardware, of services, of technology, of software. So your resources essentially become limitless. So that's going to be refactoring. You need to make major changes so that it does fit into the cloud. The next one is repurchasing. That's drop and shop, sometimes referred to as drop and shop. That's replacing the app. So you're switching to a software as a service product. So this involves moving products typically from a traditional license, again, to a SaaS model, or software as a service model. Uh, a business might choose to migrate from a customer relationship management system to, for example, Salesforce, which is a software as a service model. Those are the software you access when you navigate to a website and you're able to use their tools directly online. So yeah, if you need to change products completely when you're moving on to the cloud, this would be called repurchasing. And then the last two is going to be retaining and retiring. So retaining, that refers to no migration. You're keeping some of the apps on-prem. So keeping applications that are critical for the business in the source environment. Like I said, it's typically the on-premises. This might include applications that require major refactoring before they can be migrated, or that the work has to be postponed until a later time. So yeah, maybe you're regressing right back into your on-premises environment. This would be retaining. So you're holding on to your current setup, to this source environment. And then there's retirement. This is the process of removing applications that are no longer needed. So just like in the term, right, retiring, you're getting rid of it. So that's going to be the retiring migration strategy. So deletes unused apps instead of migrating them. So you're getting rid of what you don't need. Next up is AWS Snow family.